She just slammed into the ground. Mm. He created a freaking tornado. Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and this is my review for Magi, the Kingdom of Magic, Episode 8. And this episode is all about Aladdin and Magnustat. Okay, it starts off with Aladdin taking the Kodor exam, and he sucks. He sucks. That just to come out and say it, yeah, he sucks. He gets into the 6th Kodor, and we see Sphintus. He gets into the 4th Kodor. He ends up being Aladdin's roommate. Um, but the beginning of the episode is just Aladdin realizing that when he has to rely on his own Rook and not the Rook all around, he sucks at magic. But he ends up making it into Magnustat. The entire city is covered with this barrier, so no one can enter the city without permission, and no one can leave without permission either. Which is it's a bad thing if they find out that Aladdin's a Magi, because they'd never let him leave, and he can't leave on his own. Though I guess, as a Magi, his magic is stronger than a normal mage's magic, especially after he gets to training. So he'd probably be able to break. Well, no, because the barrier is probably formed by multiple mages and magicians and stuff. So who cares? All right, I'm getting off topic. The point is that the city is covered with a huge barrier that ends up becoming relevant later on. But back to Sphintus. He's this guy from Helio Hat, which is not surprising at all because he looks exactly like a young version of Shah Khan. He looks exactly like Shah Khan would, just like a few years earlier. Right? It's the first time I saw him in the manga, I thought he was Shah Khan. I was like, why is Shah Khan in Magnustat for? But yeah, the guy starts off. He's pretty much this arrogant jerk. You know, he talks down to Aladdin and thinks he's better, like so much better than him. But in reality, he's just the tsundere guy who wants Aladdin to listen to his story. So yeah, he becomes a little bit more likable throughout the arc. But he does mention this thing about the Ikhtiar, which is this exam, I guess, like the kind of test where all the 6th Kodor guys, all the 6th Kodor magicians, that's where they're tested on their magic and how much they've improved over the 2 months that they've been there. And if they still fail to meet the Academy's expectations, then they're expelled on the spot. So Aladdin learns this, and he's like, oh, I better practice. And he finally gets to his classes, which are all physical training, just all body work, you know, just working out and stuff. And we meet Myers, their instructor. And apparently she used to be a magician for the Partivian army. But she's teaching them, and she's just punishing them. Just punishing them. She's got this whip. She's like hitting people with it, shocking them with lightning magic and all this stuff. She does it a couple of times where she like picks up Aladdin, then just slams him down into the ground. This woman does not play. And whenever she screws around with it, Aladdin always gets really mad. Then he looks up and he sees her giant boobs, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Her boobs become his motivation. So that's pretty funny. But you know, for the next few minutes, we just see her continue to work all these magicians and all these people. They just get tired of it, and they drop out. And they say, you know, we're magicians. We shouldn't need to be doing all of this physical training. We should be training with magic. This is ridiculous. We're leaving. And they don't understand the concept of healthy magic dwells in a healthy body. I don't remember if Myers said that specific line in the anime, but she said it in the manga at least. Healthy magic dwells in a healthy body. And she points it out later that their bodies are weak. They're incredibly feeble. She even says at that point in the episode, you know, even the most feeble of magicians have a stronger body than you guys. You guys are even feebler than them. Okay, so, and she doesn't really just outright come and tell them, but she drops a bunch of hints that should make it obvious that this is actually necessary for them. But they don't get it and they leave. And in the end, there were only 5 left, including Aladdin, obviously. And after all this physical training they've done, where they've been tired all day, throwing up whenever they try to eat, they're even having trouble going upstairs now. It's all this training that they've been through. It's tiring. And after all this, they finally see results. They use magic for the first time since the code door exam, pretty much, and they've improved a lot. The one guy with the orange hair, he creates a bunch of water. Aladdin uses Hamhar and Fagar, and there's this huge fireball compared to that little spark he created earlier, and they've really, really improved. And this is when Myers actually comes out and explains to them how magic takes a toll on a magician's body. And because their bodies are weak, the Rook tries to protect them by limiting the magic that they can use and making that magic weak as well. Because if they use magic that was too strong, it would be detrimental to their health and they could even die probably. But now that they're physically stronger, their Rook doesn't have to hold them back as much. Their Rook can just let them use magic that's naturally strong. It doesn't have to bring the power level down out of fear that their bodies won't hold out. So the physical training was in fact worth it. And after this, they finally start learning magic. And there was this one part that wasn't in the manga, but there's this teacher. It was in the manga, but we don't hear what the teacher's saying. But in the anime, they did actually give him a line, and it says that it mentioned how skilled magicians can use magic with hundreds of commands, which is impressive because right now Aladdin doesn't really use many commands with his spells. Halhar and Fagar, it's just a fireball. It's not. Create fire, shoot it at enemy. Like that's not very complex. But once you start adding hundreds of commands, that magic can become even more complicated and even more powerful. So that's something to look forward to. Though if you saw the first 2 minutes of the first episode of the season, they pretty much spoil. They do spoil you. Not even pretty much. They just come out and spoil you. And one of the magics that Aladdin uses, multiple ones actually. So unfortunately, they do that. That's stupid of them. But after this, we have a type. But after that point in the story, with with the teacher and everything, we get this Hunter x Hunter-like segment where they put their hands on this thing and it tests them to see what type of magician they are. Just like in Hunter x Hunter, how they test what type of nen you can use. And we learn that Rook has different types and different properties to it, and magicians specialize in one of those types. So there's fire, water, lightning, wind, sound, power, and life, which are interesting. You wouldn't expect power to be a type of magic. But I'm assuming it's something simple like boosting your strength or something like that. Or maybe combining that with another type of magic to increase the power of that particular magic or something. Who knows? Maybe you can combine power with another type of magic where if it hits somebody, then it powers them up. Who knows? Maybe you can use power magic to take power away from other people. I like to see these different types of magic explored. When it comes to life, I'm assuming it's some type of Hakuryu thing where you're giving life to plants, and plants are already alive, but you know what I mean. you're giving life to plants, and all this stuff happens. Microbes and things like that. I'd like to see some of these magics actually be relevant in the series, because right now it's fire, water. We got Alibaba and Kogyoku. We got Hakue for wind. Of course we got Sinbad for lightning. Though it's technically not magic. It's Jin techniques and things like that. But you get the point though. I want to see these types of things more in the series. But it turns out that not only do magicians have a specific type of magic that they specialize in, but they're also highly compatible with another type of magic. So, for instance, fire is compatible with wind, water is compatible with sound, Light is compatible with power, and lightning is compatible with life, and vice versa. Life with lightning, power with light, etc. So Aladdin, he specializes in fire, so he can also be very good with wind, and he uses his spell. He uses wind magic for the first time, Asphalt something or another. But Myers ends up telling them while they're training that they should train with as many different types of root as they can, because it'll increase their magoid conductivity or something like that, and it'll allow them to generate more power. So they train and they train and they train, and the Ikhtiar finally comes, and this is when Aladdin uses Halhar Fagar, and he creates this huge fireball, like atom type of thing with like fire spinning around the fireball and everything, and then he uses a wind spell on top of that, combines the two, and it's like forms this fire tornado thing that shoots into the air, and you can't even see the top of it. It keeps going. All these, it's Sphinx especially, he's shocked, and Aladdin right then and there gets promoted from 6th Kodor to 1st Kodor. You know, and then the people in the crowd are like, wait, what? He went from 6th to 1st? You know, so that was a pretty good moment. All the work that Aladdin and the others put in finally paid off. Well, for Aladdin, at least. We didn't see the others, but you know, it paid off for Aladdin at least, and that's what really matters. That's what really matters. But the episode ends with a scene of Alibaba finally making it to the Lame Empire, and that's pretty much it for the episode. As far as like anime original stuff goes, there's nothing that's really worth mentioning except for the fact that they switched 2 parts around. It's not that big of a deal. It actually kind of works better, but they switched the part around where they use magic for the first time, and the part where they're learning about different types of magic. In the manga, they learn about the different types of magic first, and find out what type they are, and then after that, they use magic for the first time and realize how much they've improved. And then after that, they start talking about other magics that they're compatible with. So, also, there was this one scene in the manga that I kind of that I found funny, but they didn't put in the anime, in the episode. I mean, where it's the scene where it is the scene where Myers tells Aladdin that he's most compatible with wind. So then he thinks, oh well, Yamaraya was teaching me a bunch of water spells. So how? Well, he doesn't mention that it was Yamaraya because he can't do that because Yamaraya is famous. You know, that's another reason they keep him locked in the city. But he asks how compatible he is with water magic, and she says, no, you're not very compatible with that at all. Just focus on other stuff for now. Wait until you're more skilled to get there. So then he starts thinking, Yamu, why did you teach me so much water magic if you knew I used fire all the time? And it turns out it's just because she uses water magic, therefore she's biased, and she just really likes it. So it was a kind of a funny scene that they took out, which was disappointing, but it's not that big of a deal at all, really. The next episode is going to focus entirely on Alibaba, pretty much. In the manga, there were 5 chapters for Alibaba, so they'll probably either try and fit them all into 1 episode or split them up into 2 episodes, with the second episode being some Alibaba and then the rest Morgiana, because Morgiana only gets 2 chapters for her stuff. But if you really want to know what happened to Morgiana, just go and rewatch episode 1 again, because they spoiled that too. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. I thought it was pretty good. Seeing them persevere through all the tough training and having it finally pay off, you know, it was pretty good. So yeah, it was a good episode, and I'll give it an 8 out of 10. But that's it for now. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.